What's up, everybody? My name is Sean McCoy, and today I want to talk about my first whole year working with the URSA Mini Pro G2. I got this camera August of 2019, and I upgraded from the Nikon Z6, which had served its purpose for me, but I wanted something that was a little bit more modifiable and could help bring my production quality up to the next level. So I was really deciding between the Canon C200 and the URSA Mini Pro G2, and the URSA Mini Pro G2 won out for me by a lot. And a year later, I have to say I'm definitely not regretting my choice. So I want to talk a little bit today about why I think the URSA Mini Pro G2 works for me, and how I think it could work for you if, we're in the same boat. Number one thing that I like about this camera is that it's so modifiable. It's like this big brick, but you can get all these custom attachments for it for relatively cheap. I have on my URSA G2 the handlebar that goes on the top handle, and then the side handle with I've got the broadcast setup, so I have the long arm that's extended. Those are okay. I would say that there's definitely probably better options out there. In particular, if you're looking at the Tilta, I don't know what the technical name of it is, but the Tilta rig where you can have the record buttons and the focus buttons if you have a Tilta focus, follow focus system. I would definitely look at that. I would say that the handle that it gives you if you get that shoulder rig kit through Blackmagic Design, it just is kind of awkward. And so what I find, especially when my camera's rigged up and I've got my Blackmagic Design screen, it's just like, it feels like it is like ripping my arm a little bit. And so having that second arm to hold on to, especially if I don't have to worry about focusing my camera, would be really helpful. So that's the only, that's like one qualm of the kit, but the camera itself, I find, is like so incredible. And it works for my workflow and for the work that I do for a number of different reasons. I mentioned that it's modifiable. There's so many different options for how you can record on this camera. I'm one of those people that uses the USB-C SanDisk 1 terabyte disk, and I can just record straight onto that. On this right now, at I think 1.8 compression ratio, gets like 300 minutes. So for me, that's like more than enough for any of the projects that I'm working on. And I'm at half capacity at that so far, so probably could get closer to 400 or 500 minutes. What I love about the URSA Mini Pro G2 is that it has Xlr ports in the back. It's got two. So at first I was using, I could have a lav mic through my Sennheiser MKE setup, and then I could also shoot shotgun and mount that on top with the Sennheiser MK416, and just kind of have like, that was really perfect for my run and gun setup, and I didn't have to worry about like managing my Zoom H6 and having to set things up. I could just record straight into the camera, and it does pretty well. I will say that I think I'm getting better audio quality. Just I have a little bit more to edit with when I am editing into my Zoom H6, but for things like in-person interviews where I'm having to interview a ton of people and I just need that microphone mounted on top, it does pretty awesome. So I love that. I love the built-in ND filters, having 6 ND filters that I can just switch in between, especially now during COVID when I'm working outside for a majority of the time. I don't have time to switch through on a manual lens ND filter, and having a matte box on my lens is just too heavy and clunky. Being able to switch between those 6 ND filters that are built into the camera, incredible, especially for when I'm doing running gun stuff, right? Because I don't have to worry about like putting things down and taking things up. It's so simple. I would not be able to work in the capacity of a pandemic in the same way that I'm working now if I didn't have this camera. I am for all intents and purposes, a single person shooter, and even more so have to be during COVID-19, where it's too hard to contact trace with any PAs or any sound assistants that I might, in a regular setting, want to hire or ask to come out on a shoot. So reducing that liability and making sure that I'm able to shoot as a one-person crew in an outdoor setting, this camera has really helped me out in that. The 4.6K resolution gives me just enough to be able to export something at 4K and still modify whatever frame range I'm using, and be able to like crop in when I'm doing an interview if I don't have a second camera, or if for whatever reason, since I am a one-man crew, that second camera on my B-cam footage is shot, I still have that 4.6K that I can either crop into or use as image stabilization. I haven't made my video on this yet, but I do have the Pocket 6K, and I don't not like it, but I don't like it as much. You end up spending more money, or you end up spending close to enough money to rig it out with all the things that you need. You're gonna need a setup to make sure that it's working in the same way. And honestly, after looking at both of these two cameras, the URSA G2 and the Pocket 6K back to back, the image quality in the 4.6K is just much better. There's so much more that you can recover from the 4.6K, whether it's highlights, whether you're working in low light, the image recovery, just the image preserves for much longer, and you can push the imagery that comes out of the URSA G2 so much further than you can the Pocket 6K. I do use the 6K as a B cam, but I have to, like, when I'm trying to copy my LUTs, or when I'm trying to apply my different grades in DaVinci Resolve, I always have to tweak it because the footage in the 6K just can't be pushed to the same way that the URSA G2 can. So there's my little segment on that. Another perk for me with the URSA G2 is just the weight. It's so much better to have, in my opinion, for the work that I do that's very run and gun. Having that counterweight, having something that can hold its own, that you can kind of move and to ground me, is so helpful. And just producing better shots. And then a couple months ago, DaVinci Resolve dropped the Generation 5 B-Raw, which for me has been a miracle. I love B-Raw. I love working in it. I love color grading it. I find that you can really pull highlights back in. The color science of the raw footage is beautiful. It's easy to work with. You can push it, and that simplifies my workflow. It's often I can apply my grade in DaVinci Resolve, and then I generally have to just make a couple tweaks here and there, but nothing big. So, love it. It's great. Would recommend to all. I know that the Nikon Z6 but about a year ago, released the ProRes addition to the Nikon Z6, which I will admit looks good. For me, I just didn't want to be stuck in Final Cut. I hated working in Final Cut. I thought that the program was, first of all, the proxy files it creates within the program slows your computer down, and the workflow is just kind of clunky. Like, I would often have like different pieces of my footage cut out that I didn't even know about until later because of how everything's stacked. And so like trying to back it up, but also keep everything, like watch and manage everything, was a disaster. I do like working in Resolve. I have a couple issues with it. I think that I wish that when you were importing footage, you could have the option to not automatically put your audio into the timeline, because sometimes when I'm layering different audio, whether it's music, sound effects, or dialogue, wanting to put a clip over can sometimes erase where my audio is on the line, and I really think that sucks. That's this video about the URSA G2, and it's been a year, and I honest to God have to say I don't regret it. If you're looking to upgrade into a cinema camera, I would definitely urge you to look at the URSA G2 because of its versatility, its competition in the market, the image quality, all of these things that I've discussed in this video have, after a year, made me still love working with this thing. If this video was helpful to you, like, comment, subscribe, do the whole thing, and I'll see you next time.